where I looked at Christy and I said, like, I don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be doing this. We are married first. Our marriage as husband and wife matters more than anything else. And we put it down.
Yeah, it really got to a place where I didn't feel the Lord's breath on it anymore. And I just thought, like, if this is it, if this is where it's come to, I'll never forget it. I remember saying to Josh, we've had a really good run.
I won't lose hope in the night when the fire's glowing dim. I'll just let go and I'll try. Help me walk this road and find my way back home. Find my way back home. Find my way home.
Welcome back to the Famous at Home podcast. We have a brand new song, theme song for Famous at Home podcast.
Isn't it so good?
What do you think of it? All right, we got a big story to tell you about that. We are actually, the plan is to have them on the podcast and talk about the song. There's such a God story behind.
We actually have so many God stories to share.
How all of this has come about. So if you're new to the podcast, we want to welcome you. If you've been listening for a long time, we want to welcome you. You're seeing a whole new set if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening, we would love for you to go check out YouTube, subscribe to YouTube channel. We have a whole new set. We've got new videos coming out, and we are in a whole new season of Famous at Home. From the website to our logo, to our design, to our music, to the things we're talking about, our vision,
mission.
the mission. It is, and today is the beginning of that with this episode called From Red Carpet to Revival. You are beginning to see it. If you're new, we just came out of a summer series. People have listened for many, many years to our podcast, and we really wanted to end that last season by, and I say last season, it's not just a season as it relates to a podcast season. It's a season for the entire ministry. And so we wanted to end it by putting together 3 series. One was on emotional health with your children, emotional connection with your children. One was on emotional safety in marriage. And then the last one was on spiritual growth environment in your home. And we brought the best episodes that we've had in those 5 series. We created a workbook for your small group, also for you and your spouse to kind of go through, take notes, and have conversation on. And we have had over 1,000 people download that workbook. And it's just really exciting to see the number of families going through those series and engaging it and the feedback we're getting. So that was the old season. We kind of bookmarked it with those series, and I'm really excited about that. Now we're stepping into a whole brand new one.
This feels like we sat down here today and I started to pray, and I started to just, I felt the weight of it in the best way possible. Like this fresh fire and energy, because I really believe the Lord's given us a whole new voice to speak, a whole new mission. And so that's what we want to talk about today, because we looked back and it's been 8 years. We've been doing this for this podcast for 8 years. And it's been good. It's been hard. It's gotten dry. And now it feels like fresh wind and fresh fire all over it. And so I've never been actually as excited as I am.
And I think, this came out of, and I want to share this story because people will look at this and they go, this is fascinating. You guys have changed Famous at Home. You have some new vision, that type of thing. But I want to say this, that nothing of significance comes without wrestle and struggle. And there was a season, we're probably looking back now at, I'm going to say 7-8 months ago, where Christy came to me in a conversation and we had to come to a point. we talk about being famous at home and how the world, in our book, Famous at Home, we talk about, 7 decisions in a world competing to put your family center stage, in a world competing for your time, attention, and identity. And where I want to land is identity. Because when you don't get your identity in the Lord, when you don't get your identity from who you are in Him first as a son or a daughter, but then finding your true self out of the love that you experience from the Father. The Bible says we love because He first loved us. And Paul writes in Ephesians 3:19, he says, I pray that you might know beyond knowledge the love of God for you. Mm-hmm. And that's beyond head knowledge. And we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. In this new season, we're going to be getting into the neurobiology of all this, but it's fascinating because we have to experience the love of God in order to have a bank account full of love to be able to go and be famous at home, to love Christy, for me to love our kids. And when we don't know our identity, we will get it in one of 3 places. We'll get it in what we do, what we have, or what we think other people think about us. And there was a reckoning about 7-8 months ago where Christy and I are wrestling with what is our identity, what is famous at home, and her fears around, and I can let you describe this, but her fears around what other people thought of her, and I think in what you said and how you said it, and how we were being judged or how we were being seen or whatever that looks like. And in a lot of cases for me, my identity tied to, this is what I've done all my life. Like I love helping families. I feel called to this. But at the same time, where that reckoning led us was to a place of 100% full surrender, where I looked at Christy and I said, I don't need to be doing this. We don't need to be doing this. We are married first. Our marriage as husband and wife matters more than anything else. And we put it down.
Yeah, it really got to a place where I didn't feel the Lord's breath on it anymore. And I just thought, if this is it, if this is where it's come to, I'll never forget it. I remember saying to Josh, we've had a really good run. And it was. I loved it. I loved what we got to do. I loved most of it. And yet we laid it down. And I really thought I thought we were walking away. And at the time, I was actually kind of happy too, because it had gotten to a place where it was like, I can't carry this old thing anymore. And what it really became was, it was almost like the Isaac, like laying Isaac on the altar, where it was like, I just needed you to know that you were willing to let it all die. Like literally let it all die so that I can bring it back to life. And that's what we did. We literally, and we thought it was going to die. And then as clearly, I could tell story after story where it was like, he handed it back to us and it's not going to look like it what did before. It's not going to sound like it. This is a new wave. This is a new wineskin, and I'm trusting you with it, but you're not in control. I am. And so are you ready? And at that point it was like, okay, I have no idea what this is going to look like. And to this day, I think it's like we're following a great cloud. I don't know. I know what I know, and the rest of it, it's like a big adventure. And so this has felt like a awakening for us. And so we want to talk about the pieces that we do know and the things that we felt the Lord was saying that He is in the business of doing, not just on the earth, but in families specifically, because I think that's where, and individuals, I want to say that too. A family is comprised of individuals, and I think so often we can become idolatry to look at a family where it's like this unit that's set apart or higher than. This is a collection of individuals that the Lord loves. And when you heal the individuals in a family, the whole family is not just revived. It's awakened, it's revived, it's sent out on mission. And that's what I think the heart of Famous at Home is shifting to. Mm-hmm. And so when last 8 years, has it been 8 years that we've said that, where we would say, when we close off the podcast, we'd say the greatest red carpet you'll ever walk is through your front door. And at the time, that felt really true and real. And I believe that it still is on this
100%.
earth.
On this earth.
That is the greatest red carpet we will walk. However, it's like the Lord has pulled up our vision. So we're seeing from a higher place that it's not actually through our front door in the natural. The greatest red carpet we'll ever walk is from this life into the next. And if we start to see from that lens, the problems that happen inside the home, the problems that happen outside the home, start to be shrunken down into a size that feels, it's like the big thing.
That's right.
Isn't the big thing anymore. We're seeing from a higher place. So how do we actually see how he sees? And that's been...
And I want to say too, like this revelation came to us when we're coming out of this reckoning, right? And I'm just trying to bring you behind the scenes here a little bit. We come out of this reckoning, if you will, with each other, kind of surrender, prayer, weeks of just wrestle and tension, while we're still carrying out what we need to be doing, but yet kind of like where we headed. And someone who's become a dear friend who now is working alongside us here with Famous at Home. Her name is Kendra, and she does dream mapping. And I'll never forget, a mutual friend of ours said, "You need to meet Kendra. You guys just need to lay down what is it that God is leading you guys to do, and she'll help map this thing for you."
It's like, what are the dreams that God's put in you?
Yeah.
Instead of like what you think you're supposed to carry, like what is in you that he wants to come out. And so we sat and we did this with her for for
weeks, and it just stuff pouring out. She's listening and she's praying and she's hearing, and we're praying into this. We're processing it. We're doing it organizationally, but then we're also doing it in the spirit and in the supernatural. And I'll never forget that first time that we sat down with her after she went back. She mapped things out, and she looked at us and she said, "What it sounds like is that this is a shift." I'll never forget that moment. Mm-hmm. She said, "This is a shift from red carpet to revival." And that's exactly what Christy's talking about. It is, we genuinely believe, and that when we prioritize the revival of your family, that's what we see families longing for, is like a revival, like a sense of, is there something bigger than what the world is offering us for our family? There's nothing wrong with travel sports. There's nothing wrong with activities and all these things. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when that becomes our identity as a family, that becomes the thing, we end up, and we see this over and over and over again, over 700 parents that we've surveyed. What is your greatest parenting challenge? The number one parenting challenge overwhelmingly is there's not enough time. We're too busy and there's not enough time. And it's like, okay, if this is the thing, then what are we living for? What is the vision? And some of the books right now that are really hot, if you will, and these books, we living in this for well over a decade in this parenting space, and the books that come out over and over again, a lot of them contradicting one another about what is the best parenting strategy and all this. Right now, the hot topics are books, one by a gal named Abigail Schreier, who called Bad Therapy, Why the Kids Are Not Okay. I think that's a subtitle, something of that nature. And then, Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, and all about screen time and how screen time has contributed to the increasing issues of anxiety and depression. And Bad Therapy is also a call to, hey, what are some of the therapeutic techniques that have been out there, and are they really beneficial? She's not a Christian, but are they beneficial? Are they helping? And these are the things that we get questioned on. My child, how do I discipline my child? How do we manage screen time in our home? How do we come together as husband and wife? How do we serve one another? We're fighting, we're always arguing. I feel like we're on the ropes, and these problems come in over and over and over again. And I get that we have problems and we want to go get a solution for it. But I genuinely believe that a lot of the problems that you see with Anxious Generation, with these books, with the things that are coming out, with screen time, anxiety, they are a consequence of living in the matrix, if you will, that is the individualized Western culture that we find ourselves in. And we as families have come into agreement with that lifestyle because there's no other option, or a lot of times we don't feel like we have permission to live any other way. And at Famous at Home, we're going, oh no, wait a minute. There is a different way. There has to be a different way. And there is a solution. There is a blueprint that is a paradigm shifting way for us to guide and lead our families where all of the problems take care of themselves. In other words, let's stop putting Band-Aids on the problems and let's give the solution. Because when we start to prioritize the solution, all of the problems start to take care of themselves. And that solution ultimately leads to revival. It leads to joy. It leads to vibrance. It leads to margin. It leads to your ability to be present. It leads to the answer to all of the problems that we tend to find ourselves in. And I say all this genuinely out of experience. We have been the family that's been too busy. We've been the family that's been at each other's throats, in a figurative way. We've been the family that is at each other and in chaos and just overwhelmed and in fight or flight and all these things. And we are implementing the solution, and we are finding, and I'm saying this in front of her, with her here, I think we're more connected heart to heart in our marriage than we've ever been. I feel like we have unity within our family, the kids, in ways that we haven't before. And we're seeing this and we're saying, we want this for all of you. We genuinely believe that when we find our way back home to the Father and we experience his love, that the overflow of that is revival in the family. And man, if your family is revived, imagine what you're going to do to the next family and to the next family and to the next family, and the multiplication of that. Gosh, what if this is the beginning of family revival?
Oh my gosh. It was this call to something higher. Like, so we're not stuck in the minutia and the milieu of just like the mess down here. But when he says, like Jesus says, I came to bring life to the full, to give them life to the full. Why aren't we living that? Like, why even as believers, you look at the church, like the corporate church, the global church, and you're like, there's a whole section of us that don't look any different than the world. They're miserable. They're stressed. They're busy. They're not living for anything bigger. They have a faith, yeah, but it's not lived out in full. So where's this disconnect? Like, why is this happening? Like, and we realized there was an awakening of hearts that comes first. And so it became this sort of clarion call to like awaken the hearts. Let's awaken hearts. Hearts need to know that there's hope. Hearts need to know that there is joy, that there is peace, that this is possible, that this is like literally what Jesus died for. There is so much on the other side. And of course we have an enemy that would be like, not for you, or like this, it sucks down here. Like, it's just really hard and it's getting worse. And that is hopelessness. That's despair. I mean, it's the spirit of the
rapture
air.
will come soon.
Yeah.
Come on, Lord. Come on, Lord. Come back.
And it's this call, like, and I was like, oh Lord, awaken hearts. And once they're awakened, revive families. And when revival comes to the family, I really believe it is the vehicle through which the entire culture shifts, the whole corporate church shifts, because he created family to be the buffer, to be the home, to be the symbolic, when he talks about binding up the brokenhearted, this is a coming around, a holding together. We were never meant to be alone. So he gave us family. It is the vehicle through which we heal, we grow, we sharpen, and we need it. We need it. And if you watch the enemy's hand on the earth, it has come after family, marriage and family. Why? Like, we have to pay. Why? Because there is so much power, authority, peace, joy. There's so much potential. There is not just potential. It makes it feel like there is so much.
Well, when he takes out the one place, the one foundation where you receive love in an earthly sense,
yeah, so good.
You're going to step out in the world trying to find love and identity in other places, and you get individualized, and then you feel alone and lonely and anxious and depressed, and it just leads to that way, which is why family is such a foundation. The household, Ephesians, Paul writes about this to the church of Ephesus. It's all about the household. Like, God uses the household as a vehicle to build his kingdom. and it is the safest place on earth. It should be the safest place on earth to hit rock bottom. And I genuinely believe that, to what Christy's talking about here, the Awakening Hearts piece, there was a number of months ago, I did this spiritual development of a mother and father episode where I talked about, and I genuinely believe this still continues to be this way, that you can sum up all of parenting research into one primary conclusion, and that's that our kids become who we are. Yeah. And I can get the book Famous at Home. There's all kinds of data to support that. That we don't like the word parenting that much because the word becoming is a much stronger predictor, as Brene Brown talks about, of how our kids turn out than what we know about parenting. Who we're becoming as adults is a much stronger predictor of how our kids will end up than what we know about parenting. And I just think that who I'm becoming, the more that what I want my children to experience is joy. In order for my children to be joyful kids, they have to have a father who experiences joy. That's my own becoming. But in working out my becoming, in order to experience joy, I have to have an awakened heart. My heart has to come awakened to that. And that comes through a blueprint of slowing down, simplifying, rest, and figuring out what are the best ways to lead my family. And that's the framework from red carpet to revival that we're laying out here in this episode to start this whole new season, because every episode from here on out is going to be about this shift.
Okay, but let's talk about that. Like, what is the importance of the household, and why do we need to be revived? Like, what are we heading towards? And we wrestled with this. It was like, to what end, Lord? Like, where are you leading us? And I'm helping you find your way back home. What does home mean to you? Like, what does home mean? And we've wrestled with this concept.
Well, I think I'm just going to jump in just 1 second before you jump in, because I know where you're headed, I think. But I want to take it to a place I don't even think you and I have talked about. But I genuinely believe that our longing in life is a return back to Eden. It's a return back to the way, to me, the Garden of Eden is home. The Genesis chapter 1, the world began in beauty with no sin and nothing, like no illness, no sin, no sickness. And I think we are longing for Eden again.
Yeah.
And the Bible ends with the return of the garden of no sickness, no illness, and I think our whole pursuit in life. And so when I lost my dad, I can remember the wrestle for years. I would want to go back and I'd want to go through the very first house I ever lived in. I wanted to ride my bike in the alleys that I grew up in. I wanted to smell the smells of fall, there was this visceral longing and feeling for home, my natural home again as a kid. And I think that's what we experience as adults in our return to Eden. And that, to me, sets up the bigger picture, I think, with where you were going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this call back home. And what is home? What does that mean? And we realized it's actually threefold. And this is the new mission of Famous at Home. This is the new vision. And it is helping you find your way back home. And that has become the line that we have just felt like just sat in. And the first is to find your way back home to the Father. Because none of this matters. None of this makes sense until we find our way back to Him. And so that, I think, is a shift that you will even feel probably the most prominent in everything that we do, is that that is our first priority, is to help you find your way back to the Father.
And when we talk about the solution, listen, we have way more education than we ever needed because we didn't know what we wanted to be when we grew up, so we just stayed in school.
That's true.
But we've got all the education and how do you fix this problem? How do you fix that problem? And we can keep doing that. But if you really want the solution, we never truly feel at home until we are experiencing the love of the Father.
Yeah. It's who you are. And that comes to the second point. It's finding your way back home to yourself, to who you really are, to who He made you to be, without all the masks, without all the performance and the chasing and all these things that if you get, to our age or ish in life, we've put on so many different personas and filters and even ideologies where it's like, this is who I am. It's only because it worked for a little while. It got you in that door. It got you into that friendship. It made, allowed you to fit in here. It's not who you are. And so mission 2 is helping you find your way back home to you, to who you really are, the real you. And that is at the core identity. And so identity has been this, I think, ringing theme for us. We're going to actually do a whole lot on identity coming up. And I'm so pumped about it because it changes everything. And we've realized even, we've done a lot, marriage stuff, and we coach and do work individually with people, and you realize this is the essence of what it comes down to. Yes, we've been all hurt. Yes, we've all had stuff happen to us that we're carrying around. But if we can't get back to who we really are, like that's the full, healed, whole version of us, then we're going to just keep, bouncing from thing to thing to thing, trying to repair.
Find our identity in who we are.
Yeah.
Or what we do, what we have, or what we think other people think of us.
Yeah. And it's bandaging stuff that is quite honestly a waste of time.
And we transfer that onto our kids, by the way.
Yeah. So it's finding your way back home to you.
To the Father, to you, which ultimately leads you.
And then the third.
Back
so this
home.
really, it's a triple entendre now. When we get those two things, we find our way back home to the Father. We find our way back home to our true selves, who He's created us to be, and our identity. Then we are able to find our way back home to our spouse, to our family, to that four-walled place where we call home. Yeah. And when done in that order, it's the issue that used to be the issue, the problem that used to feel like the big problem, it heals. Yeah. It's covered over.
And I would say this too, we can talk about step 1, step 2, step 3, but I think these are all interconnected. You're always weaving in and out of these things,
sure.
right? So it's like, I'm always trying to figure out, like, I have to show up for my wife every single day. I have to show up for my kids every single day. Well, my way back home to them is an ongoing journey to every single day finding my way back to the Father, to discovering my true self. So it's like this I don't know that any step is ever linear.
Except that I think the way that we've approached it before is we go after the marriage relationship. We go after the relationship with our kids.
And we're not just giving that solution.
This is, this is the Band-Aid where it's like, we're just trying to fix this issue down here in our four-walled home, when He's saying come higher, come to me first.
That's the exact words I was saying. It's going higher.
Come higher.
We're going higher.
Yeah.
It's like glory to glory. We're going higher.
So good.
And we're going deeper. We're going higher and deeper, and we're not just going to live at the surface.
Oh my gosh. And I just feel to say, I don't know where this must be just Holy Spirit. For those of you that are it's for you too. So I just literally silence the lies. It's we're sure that sounds great for you. You've got a partnership there. You're both on. It's for you too. Single mom who's listening. It's for you too, going through a divorce. It's for you too.
Absolutely.
Husband, father who's in a hidden addiction. It's for you too.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's for you too. I've families with kids with disabilities. I see so much chaos and brokenness in homes, so much anger and so much division and strife. It's for you too. I pray that you hear that. I cancel every lie that tries to tell you that that's nice for others. I'm stuck here. That is the lie. And we've seen too much to know that there is nothing He can't do. And also His heart for you is for your good and your healing. I think probably one of the more destructive lies that I have witnessed is that people believe He doesn't want to heal them, that He doesn't want to come for them, that I know He can, but He doesn't want to. He doesn't desire me to help me. And I think that is the most blatant lie against His character and His heart for you. And
everything that you're saying, all the scriptures that I've just read this week in the book of Psalms, I read Psalms every morning, and every one of those scriptures that's coming back to me, he will never leave you nor forsake you. There's a literal verse. God is for you. You are never alone.
Ooh.
Ground yourself in the truth, because the more that we have these truths in our heart, our soul, embedded into who we are, the more we can come against those lies that Christy's talking to you about right now.
I don't even know why I'm open to this passage but I'm just going to read this. This is out of Isaiah 62, and I'm going to speak this over you. You will be given a new name, and the Lord's mouth will announce. You will be a glorious crown in the Lord's hands and a royal diadem in the palm of your God's hand. You will no longer be called deserted. Your land will not be called desolate. Instead, you will be called, my delight is in her. And your land married, for the Lord delights in you, and your land will be married. For as a young man marries a young woman, so your sons will marry you. And as the groom rejoices over his bride, so your God will rejoice over you. And I just pray, this is the desolation, the desertedness, this feeling of being alone, being left, being hidden and unseen. It's like he's coming for you. And I think that's the declaration that I want you to, he's coming for you, and he will not leave you where you are. Even if it might not be a big thing for you right now, but he doesn't want to leave you there.
Such a good word. And so here's what I'd like to do. We laid out this whole new plan. I think you're seeing, I hope you're feeling the energy coming from us in terms of the excitement that we have, the heart that we have, the new vision for Famous at Home that we have. We have all kinds of exciting initiatives coming up. We're going to be doing events. We're going to be doing just different things that we're really excited about. Where we are implementing this practically is Christy has a coaching cohort called Tender and Fierce for women to find healing in their own lives and to be awaken their hearts to the Father. And I am getting ready to launch a brand new coaching discipleship cohort for men that will be ongoing, that doesn't stop. We are in the process of building an app. I'm so excited to announce this. If you are interested in signing up for this, please go to the interest form and sign up. This will be launching in just a few months. I don't have the exact start date yet, but we've made a lot of progress on the app. And now it's just a matter of uploading content and getting things ready and getting the Zoom calls figured out. But to me, this is going to be the journey for me to coach, disciple, come alongside men to live out this solution in the world around us. And so that we can, Christy's tackling her side, I'm tackling my side, and then we're coming together and we're bringing revival to families. And so if you would love to be a part of those things, sign up in the show notes. Also, too, I just want to make mention of this podcast and the initiatives that we're putting forward. These are, if you are willing to give to what we do, these things are listener funded. We would love for you to be able to give back. If you in any way have been blessed by what we do, you can find that there in the show notes as well today, and also on the front of the website. We would be honored to have you partner with us and for us to partner with you in bringing revival to families across our nation and Lord willing, across the world. And so what we are doing next, I just want to highlight this. If you're new, if you've been listening for a long time, we are now going to be launching 7-episode seasons, if you will. So this very first season is called Find Your Way Home. And this episode today is moving from red carpet to revival. We are going to, over the course of the next 7 weeks, starting today, we are going to be talking about identity. We're going to be unraveling and going deeper into a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. What does it look like to find your way back home to the Father, to your true self, to your family? And we're going to be doing some interviews as well. One of those interviews that will be coming up that we're really, really excited about is the new song. We haven't even given it. We dove right in and we didn't even give it much justice here in the beginning. Wes and Callie Strunk are dear friends of ours. They, as a married husband and wife couple, have a band called NONAH. They're a duo. They're not even a band. It's a duo. Wes and Callie, they're named NONAH. And I remember back in March, they have an amazing, I love that. First of all, they're just incredible humans, great friends, and they are unbelievably talented songwriters, singers and songwriters. And I remember back in March, we were looking to rebrand Famous at Home, trying to figure out what we were going to do next. And they have a song called Tell Your Friends. And I want you to go download it. I want you to go download their music. Tell Your Friends was a song that I was like, ooh, we could use this background music. And so we started toying with that. Well, then as we were it was in the middle of this wrestle of where are we headed? What are we doing? And so it kind of just got put in the back burner for a little bit. And then when we figured out what our next step was, I came to him and he said, why don't I write something for you? And it was just going to be a 30-second like intro, outro, bumper type of thing for the podcast. And when he first sent us Find Your Way Back Home, I gave him a little bit of an idea. We're talking about Find Your Way Home. When I gave him a little bit of an idea, he sent that to the record label. They were like thrilled and they said, why don't you make a song out of this? This needs to be a song. And so it's a full song. We get to have it as the Famous at Home podcast song, and it will release in October. So I really want to, on behalf of my friends NONAH, for you to go pre-save it wherever you download your music, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Go pre-save it. Find Your Way Home. Releases in October. You'll get the full song. You're getting bits. You're getting the teaser on the Famous at Home podcast before anybody else does. And man, we have listened to it in our home so often. It turned into what will be a beautiful song for them. And it couldn't have been a more perfect collaboration for Famous at Home.
I think it's like when you watch God do something so big that they were over here for dinner the other night and we're just like, look what he did. Like, it's become like an anthem. And it's not just about when you hear it all. It's marriage restoration. It is us finding our way back to the Father. It's us finding our way back to, like, it's all of it. And it really has become the anthem for Famous at Home. And I love them. I love their hearts. I love that we get to do this with them. So, and I hope you love it too. It's going to be so good.
So I just want to highlight that at the end on the outro, you'll hear this kind of go into, and I'm going to talk to you, who Christy was talking to just earlier. You feel like, man, I don't know if we can get there. I don't know what this looks like. Callie sings the bridge to the song. We're going to play it at the end. All the fears and lies, leave them all behind. With you, I find my way home. Won't change my mind till the day I die. With you, I find my way home. And I hope that as you listen to these lyrics, that you sit with the Father and you experience his love for you, and that this becomes your anthem as well, as we all want to bring revival into your individual family, but then into the families around us. So
until next week, we pray your heart is awakened and your family sees revival.
May you find your way home.
All the fear